Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, three-pointer straight away. SHAZAM!
Since October 1972, up through the current date in the ongoing NBA season and upcoming NBA playoffs, that voice.
Now Miller with the ball. Look at under the basket.
And it's knocked away.
He called it good.
Good. The shot is good by Barkley. The Suns win the game.
The voice of the Phoenix Suns has become woven into every major moment in Arizona pro basketball, era by era, shot by shot, play by play. From the Valley-oop,
Crowder waiting with it, lobs it underneath.
Yes!
It's good. DeAndre Ayton scores the basket over the rim and in.
the shot heard round the world,
1 second remaining in the second overtime. Here's Perry. To Gar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good! It counts! Gar Hurd ties it. We'll go to the third overtime.
and all of Phoenix Suns history around and in between.
For the third time in my NBA broadcasting career, I have the opportunity to say the Suns are going to the NBA Finals.
And I do mean everything, from the absolutely miserable
And the Dallas Mavericks have defeated the Suns handily.
to the always hopeful.
Levine, pass is picked off by Booker. Here he comes, whammo!
Entertaining and captivating Suns fans for literal generation upon generation upon generation.
I listen to you, I think I'm still a child. I've listened to you
But
forever.
after 51 seasons, the longest tenure with a single team in NBA history, 89-year-old Al McCoy has announced his sudden retirement at the end of the season, citing health issues causing him to miss 13 home games between the middle of January to March 16th.
The voice of the Phoenix Suns for 51 seasons announced he is retiring. I have just confirmed it through a source at the Suns organization.
But hold up a second here. All these photos and articles paint an inaccurate picture of an almost 90-year-old's workplace condition in March 2023.
We have the best vantage point in the house.
This is where Al McCoy works from now, changed as of the present season, and this is his present date view of the court. He was courtside as recently as last season. His spot was well documented for years, and even known as the Al McCoy Gameday Spot in several articles and pieces of media for 50 seasons.
Hey Suns fans, I'm Lindsay Smith here in the legendary Al McCoy Gameday Spot. I'm keeping his seat warm for him.
A spot he's had since he started back in the early 70s, of course excluding the 1 year of remote and social distance broadcasts during the NBA health and safety protocols. This season, however, his seat was moved way up top. Despite making his opinions on being higher up in the arena clear in the past when he started gradually retiring from road games in 2017.
You're not broadcasting all of the games this year.
Well,
What's going on with
yeah, for the first time, I am missing some games. And I'll be honest with you, what has transpired in recent years is a lot of the arenas, most of the arenas in the NBA have moved local television and radio broadcast locations. And I hate to say this because we're in areas where we can't see the floor, we can't see the three-point area, and the three-point shot is such a big thing anymore that I finally decided I don't want to be remembered by fans and allow them to say, what's wrong with McCoy? Doesn't he know who shot the three-point shot?
Yeah.
So I am, I still do the majority of the games, but I am missing a few games on the road where I just can't see the floor and I can't do the job that I think needs to be done.
Saying in a 2019 interview with The Athletic, if he were to ever retire, it would be because of these high locations. Quote, because we're being put in arenas where we can't see the floor, and when you can't do the kind of broadcast you want, it's not good. And said in another 2019 interview with the Arizona Republic that he would retire if he were not excited about that night's broadcast and the quality of the broadcast itself. He was still moved high up top in the Suns, his Suns' very own home arena this season, regardless of making his opinion on where this would lead him crystal clear for years.
The one and only Devin Booker, we're way up here on top, Book.
I see you,
Good to see you.
What's
Good
up,
to
Al?
see you. All right, CP3, we're way up here in the rafters.
And despite the fact that previous moves up top for other teams had forced other broadcasters into retirement, directly worsening their own respective health issues in the process. Such as Hot Rod Hundley, longtime voice of the Jazz and one-time Suns color commentator, who was moved up top when the league forced the separation of radio and TV media in 2004, ending the simulcast that had been the hallmark of Hundley, McCoy, and most notably the fans' lives until that point. Hot Rod Hundley spoke of the difficulty of making it up the stairs at that age, mentioning how the distance exponentially increases the likelihood of mistakes throughout the broadcast and can make a once beloved job now miserable, stating, quote, "Being upstairs, it's terrible to broadcast from." McCoy's spot was not moved when he was sent exclusively to radio in 2003, however, and he could be seen on TV every Suns home game in his usual courtside seat, right next to the Suns bench, appreciated by every generation of Suns players.
Speaking for every player that has came through this organization, there's no better feeling than after a home game win, getting to speak to you courtside.
And of course, much appreciated by Al McCoy himself, as he had vocalized on many occasions.
Thank you for allowing me to have the best seat in the house to broadcast these games.
This season, however, at 89 years of age, McCoy was suddenly forced to now walk up some 30 to 40 rows of concrete steps up to his dream job like many radio broadcasters. And as the Hot Rod Hundley retirement article notes, it is in fact often the easiest route to the broadcaster's desk, as you can see the Bucks radio guy demonstrating here.
So, the challenge, should I choose to accept it? There it is.
Thank you for allowing me to have the best seat in the house to broadcast these games.
Taking an 89-year-old's view of the action from this to this. Now, who would allow this to happen or continue to happen to any 89-year-old man, much less an 89-year-old living legend, Naismith Memorial Hall of Famer, and Suns Ring of Honor member, who is now citing health issues, who had almost never missed a game until the very end of this past December. An 89-year-old with health issues who is now forced to somehow manage and wait to use the bathroom in packed lines like Coming to America during 3-minute timeouts and 15-minute halftimes. An 89-year-old who now has to regularly stand up and sit down with the crowd to squint out plays when people are in front of him, obscuring his view.
Everybody's on their feet. This sellout crowd right now here at Footprints.
An 89-year-old who is maybe our last living connection to basketball's roots and rich history. Maybe out there watching you don't know who Al McCoy is, but this man embodies basketball history. If basketball history as we know it today could be ascribed to one living person.
Rebound battle. Who's going to come up with it? Barkley. Barkley with 23 seconds left to KJ to Barkley. His three-pointer. SHAZAM!
He obsessively listened to every sports broadcast he could as a growing boy on a farm without electricity in Iowa in the 1930s, before the days of streams on your smartphone, before the days of even TV coverage of sports. He attended his first professional basketball game in person in 1945, before the NBA was even the NBA, checking out live the National Basketball League, or NBL, a year before the merger with the Basketball Association of America would form the NBA. He played hoop for his high school basketball team in the starting lineup from 1946 to 1950. He demoed his first basketball play-by-play in college for Drake University in 1950, meeting future voice of the Lakers Chick Hearn while Chick was just starting out broadcasting games for Bradley University. In the 60s and 70s he broadcast baseball, football, boxing, hockey, and even a little pro wrestling. Just imagine an alternate timeline where this guy became the voice of the WWE instead. But all these other gigs paled in comparison to the sport of his childhood, his true passion and true calling in the world of professional broadcasting.
Booker with the ball, Anthony defending him. Booker breaks through, throws it over on the far side to Payne, in the corner, Wainwright, three-pointer not good. Glendale gets the rebound out on top, a long three by Payne. SHAZAM!
A lightning-fast game, the sport of basketball made the perfect dance partner for McCoy's own frenetic and thoroughly detailed play-by-play. Paired with the energy he brought to each and every broadcast, he would become the voice that would articulate a young growing sport to a young growing city, bringing to Arizona a universal language of catchphrases and calls that even the national announcers would become influenced by.
Wham! Bam! Slam!
One catchphrase in particular he came up with in homage to his favorite childhood comic book, the biggest comic book hero of the 1940s, the original Captain Marvel, upon the 1979 league-wide adoption of a brand new shot, first innovated by the then-competing American Basketball Association, prior to its merging with the NBA. A shot McCoy knew was special and would have profound impact on the league, and felt this acronym for Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury would properly convey the earth-shattering enormity of a shot that would define modern basketball as we know it.
Paul on the drive. Paul looks, leans, puts up a three. SHAZAM! And it counts at the buzzer. Oh, brother!
Earning the love of fans, the love of players, and the respect of his peers and the next generation of broadcasters.
You're probably too humble to realize this, but you have taught all of us so much how to broadcast NBA basketball because you have set the standard.
Booker left side. Booker puts up a three. SHAZAM!
Anthony for three. Bang! But I think most importantly, we thank you for the way you greeted all of us so warmly when we joined the ranks of play-by-play voices in the NBA. Because of your support and your kindness and your encouragement and always offering your help.
SHAZAM, that is what the legendary voice of the Phoenix Suns says. Al McCoy. I think he turns 90, and he's one of the great gentlemen in this business, not just the broadcasting business.
Always comes over and visits with us before the game.
If maybe not the respect of his own organization for 51 seasons, and maybe not the respect of its own owner.
We're going to do some great things, not only in the community, but with fan experience, and just doing the right thing all the time.
Maybe you're an old head. Maybe you think the game has never been better. This is a guy who encompasses all perspectives and all eras. One of the last men on earth who has seen literally every known basketball legend play in person. From Mikan, to Wilt, to Russell, to Kareem, to Bird, Magic, Jordan, Kobe,
Curry, one of the great three-point shooters ever to pick up a basketball.
And literally every great in-betweener since, and has been there for every major NBA commissioner of the last 50 years, from Larry O'Brien himself to David Stern and Adam Silver. He's the master Yoda of basketball history, keeper and curator of the basketball force since the NBA was even in existence. And above all else, his play-by-play is a gold standard that honestly is an endangered species in sports broadcasting. He calls plays down the middle, with equal energy for both teams and all players in plays. Not just the superstars and not just the big slam dunk moment or clutch three-pointers.
Back on top, Anderson. Over it goes down to Conley. Conley on the perimeter. Conley on the drive. Loses the ball, gets it back, puts up a shot and scores.
He is not a homer. He is objective. He is honest. He is thorough. And yet still has an unmistakable energy and enthusiasm for the home team. Energy and enthusiasm like a man half his age.
And the rebound's controlled by the Suns. Here it comes quickly to Payne. Payne on the drive. Cam Johnson for three. Yeah! He got it! He got it!
Now, does this look like a man unhappy to be courtside to you? Or an elderly man loving life as he should? In exactly the place he wants to be? So, what kind of person would take this legend out of his natural habitat like this, and suddenly force him to walk upstairs to get to this nook near the skyboxes? Which is a fall risk if I've ever seen one. I don't know if anyone employed in the Suns' 100-plus person organization has ever had a loved one Al's age, but come on. Yeah. Not to mention he's been on the record as already retiring from road games due to this exact scenario, as mentioned on radio voice of the Arizona Cardinals, Dave Pasch's podcast in December 2021.
Is that something you miss, being on the road and the travel? And, how much longer, Al, do you think you're going to do this? I look at you and I say, why not just keep going forever? Why stop? If I were you and you still sound great and you're in great health.
Well, it's interesting on the road games. I became concerned several years ago when the league allowed the arenas to move our broadcast locations to areas where we could not even see the full court. We couldn't see where the three-point shots were coming from. We were way up high. And I started to get very concerned at that time as to what the league was allowing. They were giving up seats that they wanted the teams to be able to sell and make money, but they were also giving up our broadcast locations. So over the last couple of years, I had decided that I didn't want my career to end when the listeners or the viewers would say, what's wrong with McCoy? Doesn't he know who's shooting these three-pointers or what's going on? So I became a little more disenchanted with doing road games.
Fast forward less than a year to October 2022 as Al McCoy's arena nightmare comes true, as he now has to regularly get out of his seat to avoid standing fans screening out plays.
So 20 seconds remaining in the game. Fans on their feet here at a sold-out Footprint Center.
And has to remain stuck in the dead center of a rowdy arena full of screaming fans, armed to the teeth with noisemakers right in his ear.
The 6'4" guard, third year in the league from Georgia, the university. And waiting now for Karl Anthony Towns. Takes a long look from the free throw line. Another long look.
An 89-year-old who has worn glasses his entire career and now has to squint out plays and players from 40 rows back. This 89-year-old who now has to figure out a way to use the bathroom in the crowded upper decks during timeouts and 15-minute halftimes, if he can use the bathroom in that time. If he didn't have health issues before, newfound adversity like this would certainly cause them. He never missed a home game last season. Of course, Al McCoy hasn't complained once. Of course he hasn't. Anyone who has ever listened to an Al McCoy broadcast can tell you a man with his old school ethics and level of professional class would never ever trash his employer publicly, even after they have done the very thing to his job he feared the most. And certain members of the media who all claim to love and respect Al McCoy, have remained dead silent on the issue the entire season, despite multiple fans on the Suns Reddit contacting them throughout the season when the story first broke way back in October.
NBA game is played today.
You have the best vantage point in the house.
These members of the media initially claimed Al said he doesn't mind it up there, which in the game of telephone has now somehow evolved into he wants to be up there.
All right, CP3, we're way up here in the rafters.
Wants to be up there? Give me a break. Nobody wants to be up here. Everybody wants to be courtside. That's why it's called courtside. It's got an aura to it, a glow. Everybody on planet Earth is fiending for just a taste of that sweet, sweet courtside clout. This doesn't seem like the kind of view you wouldn't get used to, especially after 50 years. I mean, look at it. The perspective of the court and its players, it's completely unlike anything we experience on TV or as a regular fan who's never sat below row 20. Not to mention Al McCoy's been seeing games from this exact perspective for over 50 years. No matter how many randos on the internet might argue, well, you know, actually, it's a much better view of the court up top, and go on diatribes about how that's the preferred seating arrangement to get drunk with their girlfriend or wife on a Saturday night, as if that's comparable to broadcasting 82 games a season. You know, the usual arguments Al handled in his book 12 years ago. Writing, "Why do you want to be on the floor?" a lot of people ask. I wouldn't think that would be a good place to broadcast a game because you could get blocked out or screened out on plays. Well, that is true, but the big plus is that when you're broadcasting a game on the floor, particularly on radio, you get the feel and flow of the game. At courtside, you can hear the comments from coaches and players and do more interviews. You have more opportunity to get clarification of calls from referees. The place to broadcast NBA basketball games is on the floor. As if any opinion but Al McCoy's own documented opinion matters in this discussion of Al McCoy's comfort. I don't know who's responsible for doing this to someone who literally helped build the franchise they're now employed by.
When I think back about people who have made incredible contributions to this franchise for decades, not just years, decades, you've got to put Al right at the top of the list.
Who would take an 89-year-old out of their set routine and longtime spot? It's clear the suspension of Robert Sarver at the start of the season and lapse in concrete ownership created an opening for someone in or around the Suns to move Al's seat. Maybe the new radio guy and Al's apparent replacement for next season figured this would be a good way to expedite the process of taking over the seat he's been thirsting to take over for a decade.
This is the job I've trained since I was 11 to get. And at that point, Al was, 74? And so I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is decent timing. You know, he's in his mid-70s. Who knows? It could be a matter of a few years.
Maybe it was someone involved with Bally Sports Arizona, a now bankrupt entity, whose TV crew were actually sitting up top last year, in a move I originally thought was them bowing to Al's seniority and was quite touched by. But of course, the moment they could, someone dove in to swap locations and put the TV guys literally in Al McCoy's old seat. Maybe some TV producer wanted this stupid courtside background for their TV production. I hate seeing this background, by the way. There's just something not right about being able to see the perspective Al McCoy himself isn't even allowed to see anymore. Bally Sports Arizona and the Suns don't even let Al move during national games with no TV coverage either. But this Mavs game at the start of the season, the seats were literally empty at tip. And during this TNT exclusive game, I find it hard to believe that these two playing on their cell phones experience is more enhanced by their being courtside than Al's play-by-play would be. Some people actually argue TV belongs courtside and radio belong up top because that's how it's evolved in recent years. Al mentions in his book how it's something he just doesn't understand. And it truly does not make sense given the amount of detail and precision required for radio. Whereas the average TV broadcast, and this isn't just Bally's, but all the modern announcers talk about anything but the actual game. We're in the ESPN era where it's all hot take drama and rarely ever about the actual game going on the screen. It simply looks better on TV, but there isn't one aspect of the job they're delivering that's somehow enhanced by being on the floor. Half of these guys could do their podcasts over the game from the parking lot, whereas the level of detail necessary for radio is completely enhanced by sitting up close. But truthfully, I don't know who's responsible. And honestly, it doesn't even matter who is responsible, because with Al now set to retire, all that matters is what can be done to fix this, and who could possibly fix this.
We're going to do some great things, not only in the community, but with fan experience, and just doing the right thing all the time.
Now, this guy didn't move Al McCoy, but he's not moved him back, or even acknowledged Al in any of his many glad-hand press sessions. In fact, I almost wonder if Mat Ishbia is why Al made his retirement announcement so early in the season, when Al's tradition of deciding whether or not to return during the off-season is almost as set of a routine as his old courtside seat. Al said he would decide in the off-season before his 48th season.
The great Al McCoy. He's now the radio voice of the Suns in his 47th NBA season. We had the pleasure of Al's company before the game. He said he's undecided about next year. He'll make a decision in the off-season whether he'll come back.
Said he would decide in the off-season before his 49th season, before his 50th season, and before his 51st season.
You're looking at one of the great play-by-play voices in the history of the NBA. He's not sure if Barrett misses, if he's going to return again. If he wants to, they'll have him back.
So why did he decide so early in the season this season? Was Ishbia's accounting team eyeing the books after trading Dario Saric for cash? Realized that this guy, Al McCoy, had a deal that allowed him to work only the home games, but missed a lot of the season due to health, and decided we can't keep paying this guy X amount of dollars for X amount of work? After all, growing up and still living in Michigan, maybe Mat Ishbia just isn't aware of the legend of Al McCoy.
And this organization, the Mercury and the Suns, has amazing history.
But this dude's in the Phoenix Suns Ring of Honor. He's been awarded by the James Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. He's got a Rocky Mountain Emmy. The city you claim to be a representative of now from your real house in Detroit has nominated him Best Play-by-Play Announcer every single year for over 2 decades, in case you were unaware.
I'm not the owner of the Suns and the Mercury. I'm the steward of it. My job is to do great things for the community. It's a community asset.
Heck, Al used to run all these media conferences you're looking at right now back in the day. And you always make sure to grab that courtside seat for yourself. But really, you shouldn't need translations to relate and understand Al McCoy. You shouldn't need me to spell out your cosmic parallels to this teenage dreamer and teenage hooper who found a way to keep his fire for the game burning well into his adulthood. A fellow kid from the Midwest with a dream and a drive. And anyway, any owner in the league could tell you Al's importance. Just ask them. I mean, come on, his name is literally on the Phoenix Suns Al McCoy Media Center. You're gonna really host all of media here and then throw the guy whose life history is all over the walls to the back of the arena? On his goodbye season and last chance to win a title after 51 years of service to the Phoenix community.
We're going to do some great things, not only in the community, but with fan experience, and just doing the right thing all the time.
Then please do so, Matt. Because 2 months in, this is not a good look for your new administration and new leadership to any longtime member of the Phoenix and Arizona sports community.
And the fourth thing to make this the elite franchise is we're going to win. We're going to win in everything we do, not just on the court, off the court as well.
The one and only Devin Booker. We're way up here on top, Book.
I see you.
Good to see you.
What's
Good
up, Al?
to see you.
The Suns need to be doing the opposite of making this man's job in life harder. They should be providing someone to assist Al in his age, offering to do whatever it takes to keep him comfy and keep him happy. He should be able to do the job as long as he wants and is able to, especially if health is now a concern after the year of making this guy run the gauntlet just to get to his broadcast location. At the very least, he could use a driver and maybe someone to hold his bag here. Heck, if this was the sentiment offered to our radio legend instead of complete and utter radio silence, maybe Al McCoy's last regular season wouldn't be ending in a matter of games. Even with Al's health noted, he says he's still planning to attend games. Dude probably just wants to retire from not having to sit at the back of the arena. Figures screw it, I'll just get season tickets and buy a better seat myself. Well, if the seat is such a concern and Mat Ishbia is indeed another Robert Sarver type not moving Al back because of money, and before any of you think I'm going too far, well, elder abuse is a pretty horrendous character trait to have as well. Not to sit here and rank deplorable action against deplorable actions. But this is exactly what continuing to force this 89-year-old man who has now cited health issues to keep climbing stairs like these. He's about to turn 90 with health issues. This is elder abuse. This is wrong and unacceptable. Even Sarver, for all his many faults and many errors, seemed to have the bare minimum level of decency to not move Al's seat. That was the line in the sand too far for even that guy to cross. Because even NBA pariah Robert Sarver gave Al McCoy an always open contract and open invitation to continue as long as he wants. As many games as he wants, on his own terms. Have you done the same, Matt? Because even he, a guy like Robert Sarver, knew what Al McCoy means to the Phoenix Suns organization and the very fabric of Phoenix Suns in NBA history.
You can't win without happy people. You can't win unless your people care. You can't do anything unless you have great people.
So be better than Robert Sarver, Mat Ishbia, and the Ishbia brothers. Put him back courtside. Apologize for the Suns organization treating him like Milton in Office Space.
Now, we're going to need to go ahead and move you downstairs into storage B.
And at this stage, Al McCoy should have a team-provided driver and or bodyguard. And for God's sake, get this man some assistance or a caregiver already if he's having health issues. Make his final games comfy, completely on the team's expense, and let him know that he can forever call as many games as he wants there to be, under any conditions that work for him. Al McCoy is always and forever the voice of the Phoenix Suns. And if the seat is still such a concern, why not invite Al to do national broadcast games next season when there isn't a local TV broadcast? There's always like 10 games every year that aren't on local TV, in addition to everything past round 1 of the playoffs. Why not offer to let Al do those games from courtside since Kevin Ray and EJ won't be there? He can continue to gradually ease his way into retirement as he's been doing year after year, and you can finally get a chance to hopefully kick back and crank up one of Al McCoy's broadcasts on FM radio or internet stream for the first time, so you can finally understand why he's such a big deal to us Suns fans. Because sometimes I think even Al McCoy fans themselves don't have a full understanding about this man and his relationship to his career and chosen life up to this point. His dream job as that boy on the farm in the 1930s. For a sport of his teenage and high school years, the profession he conquered with his wife and children supporting his every step, never missing more than a single game until his wife became ill in 2012, staying close to her bedside until the day she passed, then returning courtside to call a game that very night as a palliative measure. Al McCoy has a profound relationship to the game of ball and the art, the true unequivocal art of broadcasting, at least when he's narrating.
So I still love the games, and I think that's why I'm still around.
I truly believe he would not be retiring if not forced into it by the circumstances of this year, broadcasting from locations that drastically increase the likelihood of mistakes that he does not want to be remembered by at 89 years old.
If you will continue to accept me, and if God keeps smiling on me, I'm just going to keep going.
But if these next 2 regular season games and however many playoff games are indeed the last moments we are blessed to hear Al McCoy on the mic, he deserves to be comfy and in the spot he wants to be, and the spot he already was for 50 seasons.
And so I want leaders. I want people to do the right thing all the time.
Bridges will shoot a 3. Off the back, no good. DeAndre Ayton with the rebound. Shovels it to Booker. His three-pointer. He's due. Shazam!
Please subscribe for more content. Follow Al back courtside on Twitter. Tweet Mat Ishbia. Tweet the Suns. Send mail to Mat Ishbia at the Phoenix Suns Arena. Contact your local media even though they don't want to report this.
Today. You have the best vantage point in the house.
The Suns themselves are now muting and removing all mentions of Al McCoy's spot from all their associated YouTube pages, and have now apparently taken to trying to gaslight the fans by letting Al McCoy have his own chair back for a measly 12 minutes the other night, before shooing him back up top to the back of the arena, making him run back and forth twice in one night. I'm gonna be honest here, I don't really know what else we could do, but something needs to be done. The league owes that shred of decency to Al McCoy as the man is about to turn 90. Put on your Al McCoy shirts and hold up your Al McCoy signs at the arena. Maybe if you run into Barkley or D-Book, let them know about the situation. Of course, the 2 biggest Suns in history are low-key on social media, but there's gotta be a way. I know they both love Al. But a most sincere thank you to anybody who checked this out. We can't let our man go out like this, because this man would never complain. We need to complain for him. Everybody, anybody, do the right thing. Until next time.
So long for now.